I'm really grateful to you for joining me for the topic of the cost of being liked.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It makes you go, "What? Don't we want to be liked?"
Exactly. And I want to open up this conversation by asking you, Sonnet, can you share a bit of your story, something that would help us understand when did you learn to sound the way to be liked?
Mm. Well, I think it's pretty common, especially for women, and maybe specifically, depending on your culture, their cultural aspects as well. But I think it's extremely common for women to choose likability. For me, I grew up with a single mom, moving around a lot, and my childhood was mm, one of those bumpy childhoods, and I think one of the through lines was be good, be a good girl, don't rock the boat, don't be hard to manage. And having a single mom really wanting to make sure that it wasn't difficult for her. And so, yeah, I think like a lot of women, culturally, I was taught, but also just the environment I grew up in was a single mom, moving around a lot. And I learned to be good. I learned to read the room. I learned how to make sure everybody felt good, and that created safety for me as a child. And so you take those real useful tools as a child, I didn't have other choices or didn't know how to express other needs.
Yeah.
And then you bring those into adulthood and there's a big gap because you're still left, trying to make sure everybody's all right, overextending, over accommodating, shifting who you are depending on what is needed. And you never really, at least for me, like really learned how to stand in your power, in your opinion, in like confrontation. We believe different things and that's okay, but that wasn't the childhood I had. And it definitely, those are our informative years, right? We learn these things that take so long to undo and relearn and shift, especially if it wasn't modeled for us. It wasn't modeled for me,
Hmm.
how to be present, take up space, be opinionated.
Yeah.
Certainly all children are opinionated, but it's sort of squashed at some point.
Totally, totally. So we learn this way of being as an adaptive strategy to keep us safe, to like to earn our belonging and safety as children. But when did you realize that it's actually getting in the way for you? It's not really helping, or I don't know, what was this realization?
Yeah. I mean, it's been layers. Like you can only see so much at a time. I think for me, when I had children,
Mhm.
that's when I first started really seeing clearly, like, what do I not want to pass on to them?
Yeah.
And they push your boundaries. And so you're like, oh, wait a second. I've never had to sit and hold a boundary and feel that discomfort of or before, maybe I would collapse that boundary because it was easier or it would create more likability. And then when you have children, you really not only have to hold the boundary for their well-being, but to teach them how to hold boundaries. And so there's a huge learning curve in that. First, it's like setting the boundary, then it's holding the boundary
Hmm.
and trusting that you're setting the right boundary and that you can, modify as needed. It just there's so much self-trust that goes into that.
Yeah.
And the motivation is modeling for them. Like I want to teach them something different than what I saw and learned.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I can relate to that. So the desire to not to pass on what we learned as a safety strategy as children, and to help our children to be like healthier, more authentic, more assertive, especially for girls. This desire is what's really pushing this self grow. Is this what I'm hearing in you? Because I've been noticing
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. I mean, when you become a mother, it's like the most deep, profound, hardest class in work,
Yeah.
self-awareness that you'll ever take if you choose to take that path.
Totally, totally. And in one of the pieces of content that you shared, you said that being liked and being trusted is not the same thing. Can you say more on that? What does it mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's so nuanced, but because for so long I wanted to be, well, unknowingly, you don't think I just want to be liked. It's like you want to belong, you want to feel safe. So being liked by being the kind of person that makes everybody feel okay, by reading the room, all the things that we talked about. But that doesn't necessarily make you the leader. It doesn't make you the person that you trust to run the business or to
Mm,
like get the job done, or to even trust that like you have an opinion that I can lean on, or that I can trust what you say is what you mean.
yeah,
And so I think that there's, when you're really standing in your core and in your power, and you're not easily just pushed off of your center line, you create trust because people understand. Yeah, I see who you are. I can understand who you are. You're not hiding it by trying to be over accommodating or a chameleon. And in that, people can't really see who you are if you're always shifting. But when you really are certain and clear, this is who I am, this is what I believe in, this is where I stand, and not that, you're not open to shifting your mind or learning other things, but just there's so much trust in being able to see you and feel you. Like, oh, I can feel who you are, that you mean what you say.
yeah, yeah. And the ultimate goal, it seems, is trust. We all want the trust. We want people to trust us. But the strategy that we learn early on, it's like by being liked and showing up in a way that you think people expect you to show up, it's not really creating trust, right? Yeah, it's almost, I don't know if it's the opposite, but certainly it.
I don't know. Yeah, it might be the opposite because you can't read that person.
Mhm,
So I think there's so much about revealing who you are and being honest. And I think you can be trusted and liked. You can still be liked or respected. Like, okay, I don't like your opinion, but I respect it,
mhm.
or whatever it might be. But to just shoot for likability, I think you can't see what the bottom of the water is.
Yeah,
You don't know exactly what the motive is.
yeah. So in your own life, how did you notice that your desire to be liked was costing you something, and what was it costing you?
Well, I still see it. It's still like, to be honest, it's a journey. We're never like to the end line. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm not to the end line yet. So I keep seeing layers the deeper that I go. And I think originally I saw it in parenting where I'm like, oh, I keep collapsing my boundaries. What's that about? I don't want my children to be upset. I don't want them to feel like I don't love them. So I shift my boundaries so that they know I love them. That's one of the first parts, I think, in my marriage, learning how to, oh, this is my opinion, or this is what I want to do, rather than just like, oh, whatever you want to do is cool. And then resentment builds.
Yeah.
So you really have to start, wait a second, like it took some skill to, and some awareness to slow down enough to be like, okay, but what do I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so used to just like going with the flow
Yeah.
that that you'd never really cultivate a deep understanding of like, but what lights me up? What do I want? And if you don't start identifying that, you wake up one day and you're just like, this isn't the life that I expected or wanted. So how do I get back on track? So I think those were kind of the things that and just with my career, I've been a singer my entire life. And one of the things I've been recognizing recently is, I would kind of like, well, the industry is not set up for this, and it's like not supportive of that. And it never, all those things are true. The music industry, like a lot of entertainment industries and other industries, are non-linear, to put it nicely, like nothing, you just you keep throwing spaghetti at the wall and hope something sticks at some point and you keep showing up. But I think showing up from a place of ownership, from a place of like really knowing what you stand for and not just, well, what do you want me to sing? Like, what do you want me to write about? What do you want me to wear?
Yeah,
Whatever it takes in order for you to make me famous. And I spent a couple decades doing that. And when I finally was like, okay, but oh, I can be in the driver's seat. What do I really want? Um, yeah, so I think it cost me a lot along the way of not really not knowing how to, I didn't have that skill set.
right. And you mentioned the word resentment. I feel very strongly about this one. This is what I've been noticing in myself, that when I try really hard to adjust myself, to follow other group of people expectations, I'm noticing this resentment growing, and sometimes it reaches the point when I'm realizing, just as you said, that this is not what I wanted at all. It's like I was moving myself into a completely different direction by constantly adjusting what I do, what I say, how I show up. And what's the point if I didn't want to get here? I wanted to get in a completely different place, right? That's so interesting.
Yeah. It's so interesting because, we all have such similar experiences as women because we're taught like you can be everything you want, but be nice and say it nicely and don't be too direct. And, at least in this culture here, I know there's lots of different cultures that
Totally, totally. I feel it's shared experience. And I also wanted to ask you, you mentioned once that when we edit ourselves, other people can notice that and can hear that. Can you talk
Mhm.
more about this? This is very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this is the work that I do with voice and helping people really find their true voice. Because when you're listening, the subconscious picks up on, oh, everything that they're saying sounds good, but we can hear, oh, they're feeling like they're not sure what they're saying is true, or they're wanting us to like them so much that they keep, they say it again a different way, or they say it this way, or we ask a question and they're skirting around the issue because they don't want to hurt our feelings, or whatever reason. There's a million and one. But the subconscious of the other person, we always know whether or not we can articulate it. We always, you meet somebody, you can kind of get a sense of who they are or who they aren't allowing themselves to be by the way that they're speaking. And we can hear it. I mean, you see it, you hear it a lot in like Instagram reels. People are doing yaps or, doing these talking on camera, which is great. We want real humans doing real things, but you can see like they have the perfect script, but internally their story is, I hope they believe me, or I just need them to know this is true and validate that, like, what I'm saying is true so that they buy. And you can feel that energy in what they're saying if they're not present with just self trust. What I say is what my audience needs to hear.
Totally, totally. I've been noticing how obvious it is when people like have a script or like read from the list they're prepared. It does not come naturally. And it's
We lose connection.
yeah, and I totally connect more when people are speaking from what is inside at the moment, even if it's imperfect, even if it takes time, especially if it takes time to like think about what you say next. I actually want you to think about what you say rather than like read something prepared.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. I think it's the human connection that it comes down to. And it's what we desire. So, like, allowing ourselves to be seen is what we really want. And yet, it's so hard to kind of like literally remove these protective voices we have.
Yeah. And what do you think women are trying to protect themselves from when they self-edit or over-explain?
Well, I can speak to this personally. I mean, I'm not perfect at all of this. I have my own things that awareness I can see now, but I think we are trying, depending on who you are, but fear of judgment, fear of rejection, these are like deep seated wounds. Needing to belong, needing to be right, needing to prove that they are worthy. All of these deep messages and stories that start so young show up in the voice.
You did mention that in your 20s, you viewed yourself as being agreeable and as it was your strength. And now you feel that your boundaries are your strength. So tell me how this transition happened for you.
Yeah, well, I think you start noticing how you get taken advantage of, and that resentment grows, and you start like, oh, how did I get here? Um, Being too agreeable, being too accommodating. And not that agreeable and accommodating aren't wonderful qualities to have, but when it's honest and true, not out of alignment. And so I think I started to notice the results weren't what I was wanting with my life. And um, that boundaries were something I just was so unfamiliar with. And even like, reading books about it, it's not the same as practicing doing it. Really feeling the discomfort of holding it and being like, ooh, is this the
It's
wrong boundary? Should I
terrible. It
go for
feels
it?
terrible in the moment. It feels like a crime.
Yeah. But not everybody feels that way, Not
I don't
everybody.
know. I
They're like,
feel that
it's
way.
my boundary. I know. I think it's definitely more common for women to wonder. They look inward and say, "Oh, did I do the wrong boundary?"
Yeah.
And I think that's not as common for men.
Yeah, I've been noticing that my daughter, who is 6, she does not have any trouble holding boundaries. When when she really wants something, she would like push hard to get it. We can totally, as women, we can totally do with a bit of more boundaries than we are used to having, right? Because
Yeah.
I wasn't used to have almost any.
I think for so long I just thought it was articulating, here's my boundary, but the hard part is holding it
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, it's two different kinds of work to actually figure out what is a boundary that you want to hold and to hold it in real time, which is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
How did it feel for you when you held the boundary? Like what was happening after?
Yeah, isn't that interesting? I felt so good. It feels kind of like this cohesive thing where you have your own back. You did
Yeah,
something hard. You were kind of like, okay, I turned down overextending myself, and it just feels like this really cohesive. I know what I need and I can speak up for myself. And just
right.
like this, yeah, like I've got my own back.
Yeah. So I actually spent last like 6 to 8 months setting a lot of boundaries, and I can totally relate to this feeling afterwards. So I'm feeling really proud of myself. I'm
Mm.
like patting myself on the back, like, yeah, you did it. It was so hard,
Hmm.
and you did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that builds confidence, that builds that inner strength where you're able to respond faster next time, or you're able to have less of that discomfort of, am I holding the right boundary? The more we do get the reps in.
Every time I hold a boundary, it stops feeling like it was so difficult and it was such a threat to
Yeah,
my entire life, right? So we're
such a
learning.
good word,
Yeah,
threat, because it feels like that, right? It feels like this
yeah,
threat
yeah. Like,
to,
what am I doing to myself? What am I doing to my life? I'm going to ruin everything. Mhm. You recently were sharing that in your 40s you are embracing different strength than you did in your 20s. And what do you see as your like biggest strengths now as compared to what was happening in your 20s?
Well, I just think I'm more present. When I look back at my 20s, I think you're not grounded in who you are. And I think it's okay. We go through that journey. That's what 20s are for. But I just feel more present. I feel more aware. I feel like I can see when there's manipulation happening, or see when I'm feeling uh oh, I feel badly, maybe I should change my answer, or change because I feel badly. I'm like, no, I'm still allowed to hold my boundary. That sort of just that constant presence. And
Yeah.
um yeah, I just think that I've landed a bit more, and there's power that comes with that.
What do you wish more women understood about the cost of being liked?
You lose yourself in your pursuit of having everybody like you, of being likable. And you can be liked and yourself, but you're liked for who you are. And that brings the people in your life who support and love you for who you are. So you don't have to keep shifting and changing and bending and folding, and, all the different which ways to make sure everybody's okay. And I think trusting that you will be liked by exactly the right people by
Hmm.
being you.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So you are creating the right circle of people around yourself when you're showing up as yourself rather than trying to be someone else who you think
Hmm.
would be liked.
Hmm.
That's so profound. I think that's the ultimate goal we all have, I believe, is to be among people who accept us for who we are.
Yeah,
But
and to
we use
know
the
who
wrong
we are.
strategies.
Yeah, it's really true, isn't it? And to trust to trust ourselves enough to know who we
Yeah.
are, and to allow people to see us so that we do attract the right people.
Well, thank you so much, Sonette,
Oh,
for sharing your wisdom, your lived experiences and knowledge with us today.
this was
Yeah.
so nice. Really, thank you so much for having me.